Welcome, Loudoun South baseball fans, one and all. This is a special report on our Big Red Machine 2019. I'm Rich Kelsey with the Loudoun South Baseball Club, and we thought it'd be a good idea to take a look at the run that these kids have had, see how they got there, and talk a little bit about what we might expect going forward. As some of you know, we've been covering this team for nearly 3 full seasons since their remarkable run as 10-year-old All-Stars. So we're going to look back at this team, talk a little bit about it, and give you some insights into how this magical group of players has come together. It wasn't by accident. And now, in the Little League World Series, they have a chance to do something simply remarkable. Sure, they're the first team in Virginia to make it there in 25 years, and no Virginia team has ever won the Little League World Series. Consider this, as I tweeted out. There are over 7,400 little leagues. That's not teams, that's leagues. 2.3 million children playing Little League Baseball. But in Williamsport, there will be only 8 U.S. teams. Your Loudoun South Little League, your Big Red Machine 2019, they are one of the 8. They are competing on the world stage, and we're going to take a look at this remarkable run. First, let's give you a little primer on Little League Baseball. What Little League tries to do is cut up every single geographic area into similar-sized districts. So all-star play begins in each state simply among fairly co-equal districts. In the case of Virginia, you have 16 individual districts. It just so happens that Loudoun South played in District 16. In order to get to your state tournament, first, you must win your district. Check. Then you go on to your state tournament. In order to become state champions in Virginia, you've got to beat all the other district champions. Check. After that, Little League cuts this country up into 8 regional areas. That's a group of states. All the state champions come together into a region. In our case, the Southeast region. We had to win that. Check. Now, we're at the Little League World Series. Before I talk about the run and the team, let's talk a little bit about the All-Star selection process. It is tough, it is grueling, and it is remarkably hard on the manager and coaches. Let me tell you, no one worked harder in this process than manager Alan Bowden. Coach Bowden went and individually watched each of these players. He poured through game-changer numbers. He knew these kids from the time they first started playing baseball, and he also knew that picking an all-star team is about picking the best team, the best group, the best set of players that fit together as a baseball team. Not an easy task. And in a remarkably talented league like Loudoun South, there are going to be players who could have been all-stars. And to the credit of Coach Bowden, he did a great job in selecting this team and in talking to those players who were close but for a myriad of reasons didn't make this team. Very difficult process, and in all my years of coaching, I've never seen anyone pour more effort, more analysis into this process. So congratulations to Coach Bowden for that difficult job, and it seems that he has done it as well as anyone. In fact, let's go out on a limb, and it's not really that far. Coach Bowden is now the most successful Loudoun South Little League baseball coach in history. While we're on the subject of coaches, let's take a quick look at the leadership behind this team. Coach Alan Bowden, a former Little League Manager of the Year. He's been involved with Little League for probably close to 10 years now, maybe more. He's a travel baseball coach with our Loudoun South Eagles Travel Baseball Club. Coach Bowden runs a tight ship. He is smart, he's well organized, he's enthusiastic. And as many people know, coaching Little League Baseball isn't just about X's and O's, you might say. You have to be a mentor. You have to be a psychologist. You have to be a counselor. And you have to be a leader. And you have to have a lot of patience while still holding standards remarkably high. That's what Coach Bowden has done. And on this all-star journey, he is joined by two outstanding men, perfect complements for this coaching staff, both of whom played college baseball, Mr. Keith Yates, who played for William and Mary, and Mr. Brian Triplett, who played for George Mason. Each of those men, outstanding coaches in their own right, and they fit perfectly within this staff, offering their expertise and sometimes a nice counterbalance to the very enthusiastic manager, Mr. Alan Bowden. So that's your leadership team. That's who's leading this operation. Now, let's talk a little bit about our team. ESPN will tell you a little bit about these kids with respect to their favorite players, tell you about their favorite chewing gum, their favorite actor, their favorite movies. Let's talk a little bit about these young boys as baseball players and their contributions to this team. So I'll run through the lineup of the Big Red Machine 2019. And by the way, as most of you now know, they are outfitted in black and gold, and since hashtag Team Bumblebee doesn't really fit this team well, Little League has decided, and I agree, hashtag Southeast Machine 2019 is the perfect name for these boys. They are going to represent well. So that's the hashtag we'll be using going forward. And for those of you who follow LS Baseball either on our Twitter account or on our Facebook page, you know I like hashtags. They're humorous, they can send a message, and really, unless you're an adult in need of psychotherapy or medication, they're all in good fun. And they've been in great fun for these young men. All right, so here's our lineup. Leading off at the top, Chase O, hashtag Chasing Dreams. Chase Obsgarden. Wow. That's an athlete. There's probably no player on this team with more physical tools, more gifted than Chase. He's at the top because, frankly, in Little League, you want your most dangerous player to get as many at-bats as possible. That's Chase O. Chase, we see him at short, we see him on the mound, we see him at the dish. He can go yard, he can steal home plate, as he did in the state championship game. He has blazing speed. He plays the game fearlessly, and he plays it as well as anybody you'll see in this tournament. We love our Chase O. Next comes Brady Yates. That's Mr. Yates to you. Brady Yates, he's easy to recognize. He's a big kid, strong, athletic kid, but he also wears his hat just a little funny. We don't know why, but it's his look. He owns it. And he wears it almost like a top hat. Brady Yates, right-handed hurler, left-handed hacker. This kid can drive the ball out of any park, and that includes Yellowstone. Brady Yates, he throws the ball hard. He plays a lot of third. He'll move over to short. If Chase is in the game, he comes in with the power arm in the relief position. Chase is outstanding. Brady is outstanding. They are at the top for those reasons. I don't think the next guy needs much of an introduction because he has basically set the Little League world on fire. That's Justin Time Lee. Hashtag Justin Time. Justin Lee really had a run that was remarkable in the Southeast region. His stats were something like 8 for 10 or maybe 7 for 11. Hit 4 or 5 bombs. Here's what I love about Justin Lee, and I think ESPN hit this perfectly on the head. Justin Lee is more excited for the great things that his teammates do than the almost insanely ridiculous things that he does in every single game. He is a power pitcher and a frozen rope hitter. Let me explain something to you about Little League home runs. A lot of times these are going to be outs next year. These are high floating fly balls that are hit by kids who are frankly just too big for the field they wind up finishing playing on here as 12-year-olds in August. But in Justin Lee's case, well, they're just rockets. They're just line drives. That swing will play on any field at any age under any scenario. When you want to see if a hitter's got something good going on, look at the trajectory of his hits. Justin Lee is a line drive home run hitter, and he's a dangerous hitter. And what we've also seen out of Justin is on the mound, he has come into his own as a dominant right-handed pitcher. Can't say enough about the job this young man has done, and we hope he stays blistering hot. Speaking of blistering hot, how about my man Colton Hicks, one of our 11-year-olds? Big Colton Hicks, 3 hits in the last game, 3 big hits. He can go yard on you. He's a line drive hitter. He can play basically any position on the field. We usually find him at second base, gobbling up balls. He plays with a lot of energy, with a lot of enthusiasm. And the sky is the limit for a young man who, frankly, is a year younger than most of the high-end baseball players that you see in this tournament, which is a tournament dominated necessarily by 12-year-olds because of the advantage of size and speed and strength. Colton is just simply amazing. The next guy, I'm not going to lie. If you follow my threads, if you follow my Facebook posts, if you follow my tweets, you know how I feel about Liam. Liam Thien. Wow. I've called him hashtag Liam the Lionhearted. Big game hunter, big game pitcher, left-hander, nasty curveball, great movement on his fastball, pitches fearlessly, attacks the strike zone, attacks the inner half of the strike zone. And at the plate, this kid's a battler. He's not ever going to be an easy out. He's a fighter. He gets the big hit in the big moment. Boy, do we love players like that. Liam the Lionhearted. Look for big things out of Liam in this coming series. And then comes our man, Joe Ross. Woo! That guy can fly. Tell you right now, when Joe's up to the bat, he could hit you a line drive in the gap. He could hit you one through the hole. But what you better be careful for is if he hits that ball on the ground, he'll be at first base before you blink your eye. He's not afraid to lay down a bunt in any circumstance. He's great at it. Runs the bases, takes the extra base, makes you make the throw, makes you make the tag. He sets a team on fire with his speed. Look for Joe to tear it up some more. Of course, we also have one of the 2 triplet boys up, Chase Triplett. Now that young man, lefty hacker, he can flat go get it. We saw him hit a couple of really frozen rope bombs, including one off the fence in his last game. He's often off the bench, not an easy job. Remember, this is a 13-man team, and what's great about this team is they are deep. We're not holding 13 players because we have to. We're not sticking guys on the bench because we wanted to fill out a roster slot. This big red machine, they are deep to the 13th player. Every player knows his role. Every player is fearless about his job, and every player is a contributor. That's how you get to the Little League World Series. And Chase just comes off the bench and rips rockets. Not easy to do. Not easy when you're not getting 3, 4, and 5 at-bats to just step up against high-level competition and get those hits. Chase does it all the time. Perhaps the most exciting and enthusiastic player on this roster, maybe. That's hard to say. But boy, the infectious smile of Michael Bowden is just phenomenal. This kid is ridiculously fast. He gets himself on ESPN for a top 10 ESPN play. He'll make the dive. He'll make the slide. He'll make the run. He'll drop the butt. He'll rip the bullet up the middle. He'll hit the ball to all fields. He's not big, but his game is huge. His speed is ridiculous, and his smile, well, that's what Little League Baseball is all about. Also, you've got Brett Triplett, the other triplet on this team, right-handed hacker. Again, you want a key hit. You want a guy not afraid to take an at-bat under duress. That's Brett Triplett. The Triplet boys come to play. They know how to hit, and you do not want to face them in a tough situation. And then there's Brody Harris. Gosh, Brody Harris. Put him in anywhere you want. Throw him in to pitch if you need him. Put him in at the plate. Have him as an emergency player at almost any position. Brody Harris is that kind of ball player who, when you need to move things around because the game didn't go exactly as you thought, you can put him anywhere and go, whew, thank God we got Brody. That's who Brody Harris is. And he's known for getting some big hits and some key moments. I think we're going to see a little bit out of that out of Brody again. The next guy is also a, LS baseball favorite, maybe. Noah Culpepper. Wow. I mean, you want to talk about a fun kid. Everybody saw him, obviously, do his remarkable job with the Rubik's Cube. But listen, Noah's that kid who gets called on to catch, who gets called in to come off the bench, who gets called in to do it all. And he does it with enthusiasm, and he tears the cover off the ball. Here's the thing about Noah. What I've noticed about him from district play through state play to regional play is the bigger the moment gets, the bigger his game gets. He is the guy who's going to get the big hit. He's Mr. Clutch. Hashtag Mr. Clutch. That's all you need to know. You see that hashtag? We're talking about Noah. And then, of course, another young player who has gotten an awful lot of attention, mostly because he's a little unique. You look over at first base for the Big Red Machine, and you see this little leaguer. You see this little fella. You see this guy who's not your prototypical first baseman. That's Mighty Matty Coleman. Wow. No one, and I mean no one, knows how to play first base like Mighty Matty Coleman, and that's why he's there. Sure, if he was 7, 8, 9 inches taller, that'd be terrific. But nothing is as big as his game. Nobody plays it like he plays it. Nobody is willing to do all the little things or able to do all the little things like Mighty Matty Coleman. And that's why we love him over there at first base. We love him at the plate. We know he's going to give us a great at-bat. We know if we need a sacrifice, he's the right guy for it. We know we can count on Mighty Matty Coleman. And then, of course, Kean Henson. How about some of the games he's pitched for this team from districts into states? This is a guy who just simply comes to play. He's ready to play all the time. He may not pitch for weeks at a time, and then all of a sudden they throw him in there and go, hey, Kean, we really need a couple quality innings. Bam. Right guy, right time, all the time. That's your 13 players. That's your total team. That's the guys we're sending to battle for the Little League World Series. And they are, by every calculable measure, sensational. The perfect team. In fact, they're a little bit like a Rubik's Cube. They have to be put together just right, and then they really shine. And the guy who put them together, Coach Bowden, knew exactly what he was doing, and that's why they fit so perfectly. There's a look at our boys. Next, we'll take a quick look and kind of go down memory lane on this team, both in its prior seasons and iterations, but how it got through districts, through states, through the Southeast Regional, and found itself in the friendly confines of baseball immortality in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.